Hey everyone. Today we're going to do a review of our new pre-bid evaluation spreadsheet. If you registered for this event, you got a thank you email and there's a link to download the Excel file there. I have also just added a download link to the description in this YouTube video, the YouTube Live. So you should see it if you scroll down. If you don't, it means you might need to refresh this tab in your browser and it'll pop in. I'm also going to pop it into the chat over here on the right. Let me just do that right now and get right to it. Oh, you know what? Let me give you the one that has the secure link. That one will give you some weird message. The second one there is the good one. All right. And let me go and quickly update that on our YouTube channel so you don't get the warning, should I keep this file from your browser? Anyways, so today Brian's going to go over kind of, I guess, tips on using this particular document to evaluate a bid before you actually start bidding it. If you have any questions during this, feel free to post them to the chat and we'll try to get to them throughout the webinar. And let me see if I can think of anything else. We will be hosting this file on our website, so you should be able to find it just by Google searching in the future or visiting our website. Otherwise, it's in the description right below on YouTube. I don't know. Brian, can you think of anything else? I'd say you should just take it over.
I'm ready. Good. We call this the pre-bid evaluation. It's the third part of a three-part webinar series. The first two, we went through about 8 of the criteria that we think you should consider when you're deciding to bid a job. And what we've done in this webinar is we've put this all into a spreadsheet. So you can go to any of the criteria, and we'll show you in a minute how to use it. But the idea is you can quantify, you can say whether this particular criteria, whether it is the type of job is ideal for your company. You can say whether that's desirable or undesirable or somewhere in between. And you can also in this spreadsheet tell whether that's an important criteria, because some of the things that may be desirable may not be important and vice versa. So it's a real easy thing to use. Let me get back. I got to share that, sorry. Okay, so you see the spreadsheet, right, Derek?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so these are the criteria along the left that we went through in the first 2 webinars. We did 8 in each of them. We discussed them in a little more detail, but they're pretty straightforward. Manpower availability, that's one of the criteria. Do you have the manpower available? Do you have the necessary journeymen and apprentices, and do you have enough manpower available for that job that you're looking to bid? It's not a real desirable job if you don't have enough manpower. So you would, if this is a job where you have the adequate manpower, you would check this little box here. You would uncheck normal, and it would give it a higher score over here at the end. So you want to go through each of these. Initially, it'll have neutral checked for all of these different categories. And then you can raise it or lower it depending on what you think about that criteria for the particular job you're looking at. So cash flow implications, just to review these real quickly, would be, is the cash flow going to be a problem or maybe even an opportunity for this particular job? Do you have the cash flow to handle it? Uh, will you be able to do a little bit of progress billing initially to get some cash flow coming in? So you want to look at the cash flow implications of the job. We just talked about manpower. Do you have enough manpower available? The competition in the bid list. If there's too many competitors, well, that's the next one down. If the particular competitors on the bid list are people that you've bid against before and you've done well, then that makes it a desirable job. If the competitors are not people you've bid well against, then you would make that less desirable. The number of bidders and the competition kind of go hand in hand, but just the sheer number of bidders would be a factor. I always tell people, if you get into bidding against more than 5 other competitors, you're probably not looking at a desirable job to bid. And then the engineer or architect, is it an engineer or architect that you recognize and can work with? You know how they're going to do when it comes to change orders and just handling the job itself. The reputation of the owner, is that somebody you can work with? Are they going to fight you on every change order? Are they going to be good on the change orders? Are they good at running the job? The size of the project, that's somewhat related to the manpower, but it is this particular job you're looking at that's something your company can handle. You know, um, if you've got 5 employees and the job's going to require 10 or 20 electricians on the job at some point, that's not a good size for you. On the other hand, if it's the kind of job where you can put 2 or 3 electricians out there and that's in your wheelhouse, the kind of job that you do well, then that would be a desirable job. And if it's too small a job, large companies typically don't look at the real little jobs as desirable because it's just too much effort for the size of the job. The site conditions are important. Is it something that the job has got a good, uh, well organized site? Do you have storage on the site? That kind of thing. The quality of the bid documents. Again, that comes down to, are you going to get paid for things uh, that aren't well designed? So if you have to submit a change order because the design is bad, that tends to make it a problem. But if a good, well designed job is definitely a more favorable type of job. The type of work, is this the type of work, commercial, industrial, uh, any other kind of specialty? Maybe it's high voltage job. The type of job is important, if it's favorable for your company or not. The schedule of the job is important. Again, is it going to be something that you can schedule your company's resources around? And then there's the general contractors on the bid list. Are they ones you've worked with well in the past? Are they ones that have been a problem? The environmental conditions. What's going to be uh, the situation with the location of the job and um, there's also the safety issues on the security issues, but just the general environment. Are we going to be dealing with weather problems or that kind of thing? And then the next last one is the historical performance in the job. Have you done well or not done well in this particular type of job? Look at your history of jobs. If you've, I, I was just helping somebody bid a tenant improvement for, I forget the chain, but they had never done one before, so they weren't real competitive. But one of the things if you've done a particular type of job, you may find that you've learned how to do it and gotten good at it. So that would be a favorable characteristic. Then finally, location of the job. Is it nearby? Are you going to have to pay for travel costs and housing costs and meal costs and that kind of thing? Um, so those are all the factors that you need to consider. And then on top of that, we have this last column here where you can tell this little spreadsheet how important that is. So if you think the type of job, where did that go? Type of work is something that you're really good at. So you uncheck this one and you can say that that's high importance and that gives it a higher score. So that's actually the highest score you can get on an individual item is 6.25. Then it gives you down here at the bottom the total. So when we started out with everything checked as neutral and importance all set as normal, the score was 48. So the more you are away from 48, above that, the better the desirability, or the better the job is to bid. The highest you can get on this is 100. So if everything was extremely desirable and everything was extremely important, your score down here would be 100. Now that means that's not the idea here. You want to give these assessments some weighted value so that it gives you a good score down here. So this job right now would be just, kind of in the middle of the desirability scale. It's questionable. Once you get to 65 or above, then it starts to get to be more desirable. So we thought this would be a good little tool to quantify when you're looking at bidding the job, because right now most people, small, medium, large companies, probably don't have a very sophisticated uh, method of deciding whether to bid a job or not. And this gives it some actual thought and and quantifiable numbers. Um, I think that's about it, Derek.
I can add a couple things.
Sure.
Most of you probably have Excel, but if you don't, maybe you have access to a Gmail account that would have Google Drive where you can open and edit Excel files. You could also get, I forget what the Open Office, I think, is a free office suite for your desktop. But we kind of assume most of you have Excel. There's just a touch on what some of the other columns are. Done is a color code just showing that it's green if you've checked something. If you accidentally check two in a row, the color code will be, well, if there's nothing checked, it'll be yellow just to say,
Right.
take a look at it. If you have two checked, it'll be red to say, hey, you need to take a look at this row because you have too many checked.
Right.
Um, I think Yep, I think that covers it. I think it's you covered all the basics of it. I think there's a spot for the job name and the date of the job at the top, and I suppose the idea would be is you would save these out and maybe I don't know, review them in the future to see how you're once you completed the job if it matched up
Right.
because
Yeah.
it would give you an idea of the quality of your scoring. Um, I suppose I didn't test this, but you could probably even create multiple tabs along the bottom. Just keep duplicating this tab at the bottom and
Hmm.
maybe naming the tab after the job there in the Excel file or the sheet, however you want to reference it. Yeah, I think that's about it. There is a settings tab there. I wouldn't mess with it, but feel free to do whatever you want with this document. It's fully editable. We didn't lock anything, so you can do whatever you like with it. So if you don't like the way we're multiplying normal, high, and low importance by a certain percentage, change the percentage if you like. But maybe just give it a try first before you start changing numbers, because that would change the range that we provided there at the bottom of what we kind of recommend. But you can change that too. All right. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. So if you, yeah, just download it. It's in the description. I posted it to the chat. So I think we're good unless anybody has any questions. I don't think we
So
have
you
any
can
right
see as I
now.
change these, the score keeps going up as I make some of the characteristics more desirable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
you
interested in your feedback. It's a little tool that we uh, developed based on the kind of questions we get from people who are trying to decide to bid a job, and usually it's a seat of the pants, 1 minute discussion or thought process, and this gives it a little more quantifiable uh, uh, numbers you can look at to decide.
And we'd be remiss without mentioning, so we didn't invent this from the ground up. Jim Duff, a customer of ours who is now retired, he we did a webinar with him many years ago, and he shared a document that's very similar to this uh, for us to share during the webinar.
Yep.
And we've held on to that, and we've always thought it had some use to it. And so we thought, you know what? Let's take that and add a bunch to it to make it just a little bit more useful. But ultimately, Jim Duff's original version was pretty good.
Yep. There were his categories and his thought process. We added a few things like Derek said.
Yeah, I think we added to the 1 to 5. I think it might have been a 1 to 3. It was,
There
I
was
can't
no neutral
remember.
before. You had to be,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, but whatever. That's the evolution of things. Well, hey, thank you for being here, and we're planning an October webinar. Um, I know Brian just gave me some good ideas that we haven't discussed yet, but oh yeah, don't forget, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. It helps you hear about new things that we're doing, and it helps us get out in front of more people if we get more likes and subscribe. So
And that's
we'll
where
see.
they'll find the link to download this spreadsheet, right?
Well, on our YouTube channel, yeah,
Yep.
on this video that you're watching on
Right. This
YouTube.
particular video.
Just scroll down a little bit, and it's down there right at the top of the description. All right, we'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you.